On this episode of Evolving Humans, we'll reveal the astrological and numerological energies of 2026. Learn what you can do to create a balanced and prosperous year. Welcome to Evolving Humans. I'm your host, Julia Marie. If you've ever sensed there's more to you and to reality than what you've been taught, this show is for you. We explore consciousness in a grounded, practical way, how human awareness is changing, what ideas like Christ consciousness or past lives really point to, and how all of that connects to the choices you make every day. No dogma, no jargon, just honest, down-to-earth conversations to help you live from a deeper knowing as we walk this path of awareness together. We hope you've enjoyed the monthly cosmic weather reports with vibrational astrologer Michael Spramuli. Our friend is on to other grand adventures, so here's an overview of what's in store for us in 2026. Watch for an occasional special episode in the coming months, but due to a shift in our focus for this podcast, we won't be doing any more monthly cosmic weather reports. There's a special episode coming up that outlines our new goals and renewed purpose, so look for that coming soon. And now, your cosmic weather report for 2026. This year, we begin to see the promise of the prior decade start to materialize. 2026 will be a particularly dynamic and memorable year. According to Chinese astrology, 2026 is the year of the fire horse. This rare and powerful combination blends the horse's drive with the fierce vitality of the fire element. In the Chinese tradition, there are 12 animals, one for each sign of the zodiac. The animal is combined with one of the 5 elements: wood, fire, earth, metal, water. The element shapes how the animal's natural traits express themselves. The last fire horse year, by the way, was 60 years ago, in 1965. Now, I remember 1965, but I was young then, so I went back to look at what some of the major events of that year were, as they can give us a better sense of what may lie ahead for us in this fire horse year. Lyndon Baines Johnson was president, elected after the assassination of John F. Kennedy in Dallas, Texas in November of 1963. Johnson spearheaded sweeping legislation in the areas of civil rights, healthcare, education, and the environment. 1965 saw the creation of Medicare and Medicaid, the Head Start program, the Voting Rights Act, and the Civil Rights Act. The United States was in a technology race with the Soviet Union, and the first U.S. troops were sent to Vietnam. Malcolm X was assassinated. There were civil rights protests in Selma, Alabama, and anti-war demonstrations took place in 40 U.S. cities. The first American astronaut, Major Edward H. White II, walked in space on June 3, 1965. July 4th saw one of the earliest gay rights demonstrations in the U.S. It took place in front of Independence Hall in Philadelphia. The Gateway Arch in St. Louis was completed on October 28th, and one of the biggest power failures in history occurs as all of New York State and portions of nearby states in eastern Canada are plunged into darkness. I can see how the 1965 fire horse year established a pattern of the individual as part of a greater whole, with the first inklings of our potential of becoming part of a universal community. This fire horse year will bring the next evolution of our consciousness to the forefront. Many have been speaking about a wave of conscious awakening in 2026, and how this year is potentially a moment of collective, spiritual, social, and global transformation. We must not forget the major shift of the ages, a cycle that lasts approximately 2,160 years. Our shift from the age of Pisces, which is associated with the energies of faith and sacrifice, to the age of Aquarius, linked to the energies of freedom, innovation, and collective awareness has intensified since the end of the 20th century and into the beginning of the 21st. The three outer planets are generally considered the drivers for this great awakening. Uranus is all about revolution, Neptune is the planet of spirituality, and Pluto, the planet of transformation. The key with these outer planets is their cycles tend to be considerably longer than those created by the inner planets. The Saturn-Neptune cycle, for example, occurs every 36 years and activates that energy of dissolution of rigid structures to make way for spiritual ideals. We have a Saturn-Neptune cycle coming this year, and what makes it unique? It occurs at 0 degrees of Aries, the first sign of the zodiac. This will make it particularly potent for our collective awakening. Or should I say, reawakening. It's my belief we've not always been asleep on this planet. Neptune represents the dissolution of boundaries and the connection to the divine, while Saturn imposes structure and karma. These two planets will be conjunct in Aries, the sign of beginnings and action, at 0 degrees. What this means in plain language is that February 2026 is going to be the month for a cosmic reset, if you will, and the collective will be forced to shift their awareness. Remember, too, that Pluto, which has been in the sign of Aquarius since 2024, will amplify this reset. The energy that Pluto in Aquarius brings to the table is the breaking down of oppressive structures and empowering people with freedom and innovation. I started this conversation with the statement that 2026 was going to be a powerful and particularly potent year for all of us. There are major transits ahead of us in 2026, and these shifts will reshape our collective lives for decades to come. I want to briefly list them for you here with the time frame so you have a better understanding of their reach and potential impact in your life. First, Neptune re-enters Aries on January 26th and will remain there until May 21st of 2038. Neptune is the planet of illusion, imagination, and spirituality, and it spends 14 years in each sign, so this move would be considered a generational shift. What does this energetic influence mean for you? It won't be enough to simply envision the best case scenario for your life. You must take action to make that change happen. The most important thing for you to stay mindful of is that Neptune energy can blur the lines between fact and fiction, so be on extra guard when it comes to much of what you may be finding on the internet and other platforms these days. Discernment is critical at this time. Neptune is also the planet of faith. What that means is we cannot always know how things will turn out. We do have our connection to our inner wisdom, however, and it's more needed now than ever before. This is a great time to develop confidence in your intuitive skill set, and if you want to learn more about what you can do to build your intuition, reach out to me at julia@juliamarie.us. The second major transit we're going to be experiencing this year is when Saturn re-enters Aries on February 13th, 2026. It will remain there until April 12th of 2028. Saturn is the planet of discipline, structure, and limits. We can learn a lot during this transit. It will teach us how to handle competitiveness and aggression with more grace and skill. Patience is needed if we want to build something that lasts. Saturn will provide some guardrails for Neptune's wild dreaming. What does that mean? Be imaginative but practical, and seek the middle ground during this time. Thirdly, Uranus re-enters Gemini on April 25th and will stay there until August 3rd of 2032. Uranus is the planet of disruption, and it will continue to stir things up until late 2032 into early 2033. The beginning of 2026 will be an excellent time to review what's changed in your life since Uranus was in Taurus in 2018. When Uranus finally settles into Gemini, expect a period of major innovation in social media, journalism, TV, and publishing. Mass communication will likely be getting a major makeover in the coming years, and I think we can all agree we're seeing signs of this already. Though telling the truth will be more challenging, dare to fight back against those who try to suppress the news or distort the facts. This fourth major transit is when Chiron enters Taurus on June 19, 2026. Chiron is known as the planet of the wounded healer, but it's also the planet of teaching. It shows us where we are wounded and how we can learn from our wounds. We gain valuable wisdom when we face our tender spots and have the courage to process the pain. Because Chiron will be in the earthy sign of Taurus, watch for opportunities to work through issues related to money, food, stability, art, and the natural world. This is the perfect time to be curious about any doubt, fear, or stubbornness that may get triggered around these issues during this period. Seek the mentors, teachers, therapists, coaches, and wise friends who can offer you insight and guidance. Jupiter transits into the fiery sign of Leo on June 29th and will reside there until July 25th of 2027. Jupiter is the planet of wisdom and abundance, and when it moves into the sign of Leo, it signals a time for bolder self-expression. Remember, whatever Jupiter touches gets bigger. What this means is that creativity, playfulness, and main character energy is through the roof at this time. This transit can also bring up issues around ego and attention-seeking behavior. It is a once-in-a-dozen-years opportunity to heal any fears or insecurities that keep you from taking center stage in your life. Here's one last shift for you. Venus, the planet of love and beauty, moves in retrograde motion through Scorpio and Libra on October 3rd and November 13th, 2026, closing out the year. Venus goes retrograde every 18 months for about a 40-day review of themes relating to love and beauty in our lives. On October 3rd, Venus moves back into intense Scorpio, encouraging us to reevaluate how we navigate imbalances and challenging power dynamics in our relationships. Watch for unconscious shadow material to surface to be dealt with. We must first acknowledge and witness our feelings of jealousy, rage, and grief before they loosen their grip on us. Get to the core of what you want and need in order to feel more secure in your relationships, and be as upfront as you possibly can with those you care about. Venus will slide into Libra on October 25th, so this is a great time to confront your codependency or people-pleasing tendencies, and it's a powerful moment to examine any inequities in either our one-to-one connections or the world at large. This is the perfect time to edit our creative work, dream up new passion projects, or brainstorm ways to reinvent our personal style. Don't rush to make any big dramatic moves at this time. Wait for Venus to station direct on November 13th. I told you 2026 was going to be a powerful year. Watch for an increase in psychic visions at this time. Global changes are also possible, both positive and potentially catastrophic. There's a great potential for old structures to collapse and for the collective to become more empowered. 2026 reduces down to a 1, and the numerology of a 1 year is all about new beginnings and leadership. This year is now or never for many of us. Mars, the planet of drive and willpower, will accelerate things in the coming year. Mars can also spark conflict and impulsiveness, so act strategically and not reactively. This is an historic turning point. the old world makes way for the new world which is forming. It has the potential to be a year of crisis that brings with it opportunities. And the focus will be expanded awareness of ourselves as well as our place in the larger whole. The most important thing you can do in the months ahead is trust your intuition. And you may have to trust it in the face of opposing external circumstances. Seek methods to align your personal energies with the greater consciousness and find ways to stay grounded in the midst of great change. And that, dear listeners, is your Cosmic Weather Report for 2026. Thank you for continuing to support Evolving Humans. Please share this episode with 2 other people so that together we can bring more light to this planet. If you need guidance about a current life situation, you want to reconnect with a friend or loved one living on the other side of life, or are in need of some energy healing, please go to my website at juliamarie.us and click the Book Now button on the homepage to schedule some time with me. I look forward to meeting with you. Until next time.